I'm joined with Cheryl Hersey, who founded Action PR. Cheryl, thank you so much for joining me.
No problem.
So Cheryl, you are a PR mastermind, and I'm loving these balls that we're sitting on, so I might be clinging on for dear life to you during this interview. Tell us a little bit about what you feel are the benefits of PR for a small business.
Well, I think that PR really is one of the lower cost marketing tactics. So if you don't have a huge budget, PR is a great place to go. It's also traditionally more trusted than other forms of advertising and marketing, which can give you a bit of a boost as well.
Absolutely. Now, let's say when you're starting out, you might not have that huge budget, as you kind of touched on. What are some things that women could do to kind of get their business out there, to get some exposure with a really tiny budget?
Well, I think if you can write, or you know someone that can write, you've really got nothing to lose by having a go at writing your own press releases. You just need to really think about what your news hook is, and if you don't immediately have a news hook, you be creative. You might put together an event, or you might do some sort of charity partnership. The more creative that you can be, the better chance you've got of getting featured.
Amazing. And what about in terms of if somebody did want to come and use a PR company? How much does it cost? I guess how long is a piece of string, right?
Sure,
it can be anything.
sure.
But, is there an average cost in PR?
I think rather than sort of assigning an arbitrary figure to it, it's much better to think in terms of return on investment. What is PR worth specifically to you and your business? And I think it's worth having realistic expectations as well. So if you're looking for a profile boost, or you want to get your name out there, or information about a specific service that you offer, PR can be a great avenue to take. If you are purely looking for sales lead after sales lead after sales lead, you might not want to go down the PR route. You might look at a different form of marketing.
And you've worked with so many different companies, haven't you? Have you got kind of one story, one really major PR success that you absolutely love?
So recently we ran a campaign to celebrate 125 years of school swimming lessons, and we had the teachers on the side of the pool in their Victorian swimming dress, and we recreated an old-fashioned Victorian swimming lesson, and it was a really, really lovely hook, and the media particularly interested in what we were doing, and we had 5 TV crews broadcasting live from the event, and I think we generated somewhere in the region of the equivalent of £250,000 of advertising revenue for the client. I will just share one more if that's all right.
Please,
so just because recently, I think this is a really good lesson learned, is that we've been doing PR for 7 years, and traditionally we've always been hugely focused on our clients, and as we should be, and what we do for those clients, but we have neglected our own PR, and it's only recently that we've started to do a lot more with titles like PR Week, getting our news out there, and it's made a massive difference to our own new business pipeline, and I think it took us 7 years to cotton onto that, and we're a PR agency, so...
Forgot about yourself.
Yeah.
It's easy done, isn't it? You start out, I think, running a business, and you have all these wonderful ideas, and then suddenly when you're kind of busy doing the day-to-day, in your case, working with the clients, your own kind of marketing and PR strategy somehow go amiss, and I know I'm guilty of that as well. Have you had, because that's some amazing successes, have you had any campaigns not go so well?
We did I can remember one, we did, I commissioned a female body confidence survey, and we had some fantastic results for this client. The timing was less good, and we released the survey at exactly the same time as some major news on Brexit. And our wonderful story just got completely overshadowed by that news agenda, and it didn't get anywhere near fulfilling its potential. But it just goes to show, you can be so well planned, and sometimes things don't always get pulled off.
That's it, because I know I've used PR a lot in my own businesses, and sometimes I think I've got this amazing story, and sometimes timing isn't right, or the story just doesn't get into the right hands, it doesn't get picked up, and other times I've had things where I think, oh, that won't get picked up, and then it's everywhere. So sometimes it's quite hard to tell, isn't it? And it is a bit of trial and error, putting things out, seeing what bites, and seeing what people are interested in. And that kind of comes back to your idea of having an interesting story, doesn't it? Because it's got to be interesting, and it's got to be interesting to people who are going to read it, because we can fall into a bit of a trap of, this is really interesting to me because I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
So how do how can people at home who are thinking of a story, how can they come up with an interesting idea and test whether it's actually interesting?
Well, I think I can give you a quick and dirty list, if you like.
Oh, I like quick and dirty. Bring it on.
So, is it new and timely? Because old news is history. Is it topical? Is it on trend? Because that always makes it more newsworthy. Are there any freebies involved? Are you offering something for free? Is it hugely well subsidised? That will help you to get coverage. Is there a human interest angle? Think about your triumph over adversity stories, your achieving a once in a lifetime ambition stories. They will always go down well as well. Awards are a good one if you're nominated or if you win an award. I'm sure there are others, but that gives you
that was a really long list.
A good few.
Yeah, amazing. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because it's happened to me, is I think quite a lot of women are quite nervous about putting themselves out there, because sometimes with PR, you know, people are interested in you, the human being, the person, as opposed to the big business. And it can be quite daunting to kind of put yourself out there and maybe have a photo of you in the press and things as well. And I know I was certainly a bit, but what made me really cringe was the first kind of massive piece of press I got was me for my matchmaking business saying the world's best matchmaker, and I just felt like, oh, you know, I had won an award, this small award for it, but I just felt really embarrassed by it and a bit cringy, and I got over it. Well, I took a lot of money from that piece of PR, but you know, how have you got any kind of words of encouragement for women who are feeling a bit apprehensive about putting themselves out there?
I think you can be in control of the process, you know, and I don't know, I'm guessing that someone like the Daily Mail that wrote that piece.
Funny that.
and if you're going to do an interview with the Daily Mail, they probably are going to sensationalise your story.
Yeah.
But if you're not working with a tabloid, you're going to have a lot more control over that piece and how that piece turns out. You don't have to be the spokesperson for your own business. If you absolutely don't want to do it, it could be a colleague, it could be someone on a board, an investor. If you are going to step up and be that spokesperson, you still have a choice. You can provide information in the form of a written quote where you don't have to speak to anyone on the phone, or you could go the completely other end of the spectrum and you can do a live TV broadcast, but you just have to decide what you're comfortable with doing and be sure that you can do your business justice and represent it in the best way.
Wonderful advice. So if you're an introvert, you can still do PR. There are ways around
Absolutely.
it. And another thing which brings me back to some kind of piece of press I've done, I've made fatal errors. If I've been in, you know, the tabloid press, they're churning it out, aren't they? A lot of different articles out all the time. And people can be a little bit cruel sometimes if there's an article about you. And it might not be a negative article at all. It might be something very, very positive. So in my case, it was kind of like 10 top tips for finding love. And I made the mistake of reading the comments, and, you know, some people are like, oh, what's this tosh, you know, not another matchmaker, dating expert, yawn, you know, and you're like, oh, you know, have you got any tips, or is that normal in PR? I mean, how should we handle that?
I think it's probably worth saying that most businesses aren't going to attract those sorts of comments. If you do something controversial and you are worried, then that probably is where it's worth consulting a PR professional, because they will be able to foresee any problems and work with you to craft messaging that perhaps is a little bit safer and less likely to encourage negative comments. I think ultimately, yes, you know, if it's something that is a little bit controversial, you are opening yourself up to feedback, but done well, positive PR is always going to outweigh the benefits of the odd comment on social media. You know, grow a thick skin. You're going to be benefiting from that piece, and the person making the comment, you know.
Absolutely. I tell you what, you know, as soon as the money hits your account from all those sales, suddenly that comment doesn't matter so much. That's been wonderful. And before you go, have you got any kind of final tips for people looking at kind of dabbling in PR for their business?
I think that it's really about knowing your market and where your business sits in that market. I think that's absolutely crucial, because if you know where you sit against your competitors and within that landscape, it's much easier for you to make the media or whoever you're working with understand too. Now, that's not to say you are drawing comparisons, but if you can give them that understanding, it really does help, and at the same time highlight what your USPs are and what your key messages are and what that news angle is, you'll have much better results.
Amazing. That's such great advice. Cheryl, thank you so much.
Welcome.